Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello and welcome to the Town of Colonie Veterans Oral History Program. My name's Kevin Morgan, and today we're going to be interviewing Jerry Wegner, a World War II veteran who served in the United States Navy during World War II. I'd like to start by welcoming Mr. Wegner and thanking him for participating in our program. Mr. Wegner, for the record, would you tell us your full name and date of birth?
Gerard J. Wegner, W-E-G-N-E-R, born in Brooklyn, New York, November the 10th, 1920.
All right, Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
Jerry, welcome, and I'm glad to have you here with us today. Our interview is going to focus around your military service, but I'd like to start by asking you a few questions about your background and your life prior to service. You said you were born in Brooklyn.
Right.
What schools did you attend while you were in Brooklyn?
My grade school was Immaculate Heart of Mary School, located on Fort Hamilton Parkway in Easton, between 2nd and 3rd Street.
And you've been a resident of Colonie for how many years approximately?
At least 60 years.
60 years, okay. Where were you employed before you entered the service?
I entered the service from, my uncle was the lockmaster at the Troy Lock and Dam, and he gave me a job as a gate tender, opening and closing the gates, the big lock gates, yes.
At the Federal Lock?
At the Federal Lock on Bond Street.
Okay, sure, know where it is. Where and when did you learn that war broke out?
I was sitting in my, sitting at the desk in the lock on a Sunday morning, and all of a sudden, we had the radio on, and all of a sudden the guy said, "We're switching to a very important message," and the next thing you know, the guy says, "We're at war with Japan. They're bombing Pearl Harbor." And I said to the kid, "Where's Pearl Harbor?" He said, "I don't know." And somebody said, "It's off the east coast of Africa." I said, "I don't think so." But then
But that shows the lack of understanding or appreciating the fact that we were so close to war, and even geographically where Pearl Harbor was.
yeah, that's right.
So you heard about it, and it was a live broadcast on Sunday, December 7th.
Yeah, December the 7th.
And at that point, how old were you?
Just had turned 21.
Yeah. Did you recognize the implications?
Yes, I knew I was heading for the war. And the guy said, "Are you going to the Army?" I said, "No way in heavens. I'm going in the Navy."
Now, what made you come to that mindset?
When just thinking about going in them trenches and thinking about going in them foxholes, I said, that's not right for me. Plus the fact that Navy, I'm going to get 3 meals. They may not be good, but at least there'll be a meal. And I'm going to have a bed to sleep in, not on the ground. I'm going to sleep in a bed. And that's what decided to join the Navy.
Okay, where did you enlist?
I enlisted in Albany, New York.
At the post office?
Post office in Albany.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then how long before, so you enlisted in what month would you say? Do you recall?
January.
In January,
yeah.
42.
42.
Okay, and how long before you had to leave for boot camp?
I had about 2 weeks and left for boot camp.
Yeah.
And I went out to Navy Pier in Chicago.
Okay. That
Yes.
was one of the Navy set up several training camps in
Yes.
quick order to get
Yes.
men
Yeah.
ready to put on the ships.
Right.
And what was that experience like? How did you get there, first of all? Train or bus?
We got back by train. Yeah, I was on the train, and I was on there with about 50, 75 guys.
Was there anybody that you knew from the area?
Nobody, no, I didn't know a soul.
Yeah. How was that experience?
You know, I was the type of kid that came out of Brooklyn. I came up to the, you know, and came up to Troy, and I got along up here. I always got along in Brooklyn. And so I had to, you know, there was no difference to me as far as I was concerned.
Yep.
Just another day in paradise.
How was your training? What can you describe what that entailed? What types of things they had you doing?
Well, in the school, a Navy Pier was basically a diesel school. And they just taught you how, you know, the engine run and what the problems are, what kind of engines the navies are using.
Did you have any decision making on that? Or did you elect to do that, or were you?
No, I elected to do that.
You did?
Go into diesel school.
Were you tested for that?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't know how I made out, but I got into school.
You were in the school.
Yeah.
So your first instruction was in the maintenance and repair of
Maintenance and repairs of diesel engines.
diesel engines.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long was your training period?
8 weeks.
How was the physical activity, the calisthenics and things? How did you fare under that?
You know, they made you do the push-ups and jump around and the regular Navy stuff. But it was a good experience, and it was Chicago was a good town. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Did you get a chance to see much of the city, or was it all work?
I seen some of it, but not much of it. But I remember being in the parade, and I wondered what the hell they were putting this parade for. But I went because I was told to go. And but everything, I always figured Navy Pier was a good place to be, and I was right. But
all right. So you had how many months? 6 months of training, or was it more than that?
I had 8 weeks in the diesel school, and I think it was a month in basic training out in Great Lakes or something or other out there in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have any small boat training or any? Did they actually put you out in boats on the Great Lakes at all?
No.
All right. When training finished, where did they send you?
They sent me to New York City, and I was in the Pier 92 in New York City, and I used to go, and they, after 4 o'clock you run your own, and I used to go back home to Brooklyn, sleep in Brooklyn, and get up in the morning and come back down to the Navy Pier for the 8 o'clock check-in. Yeah.
So it was nice you could get home.
That was nice because I was home and it wasn't too bad. I mean, you know, I ate dinner there and had my breakfast there in the morning, but I knew it wasn't going to last long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The calm before the storm.
Right.
At what point did you get assigned a ship?
Well, after that I was sent to Boston, and they put me on a PC, which is a submarine chaser. And I was in the North Atlantic, off of Nova Scotia and Canada, and we used to go from New York to the other side of Nova Scotia with the convoys. And then the convoy would be picked up with another group of ships, and they would take them that way, and we would take the ships coming this way back to Boston.
So you were defending the cargo ships that were bringing war supplies to England at the time?
And whatever we were bringing home, I don't know what we were bringing home. You know, but we brought them home.
What time frame was this? Was this still 42 or was this?
This is in 42, yeah.
Okay.
42 to the end of 42.
How was the weather in that part of the world?
Cold. It was cold. And the sea was rough. And that ship was not built to go out to sea. We were a boom, but a boom, but a boom. We would dive into a wave, and the fantail would come up out of the water, and the propeller would be going all by it. Oh, we're going to lose the propeller. We're going to lose everything.
Did that make the ship shake?
Oh, and the ship used to shake. Oh, you say to yourself, this thing is going to fall apart.
What was your rank and what were your duties at that
I was a third-class, a first-class machinist mate. which was not a ranking service, just there was 3 stripes in your sleeves.
Okay.
And my duties were just to go in the engine room and see that it kept running and oil the ships and basic things that you do in an engine room.
And did that complement your training? I have to think everything that you learned in the classroom, was it much different, or what you
No,
expected?
the thing was completely different than the classroom.
It was.
Yes, completely different than the classroom. Number one, you're under stress all the time, and number two, you know, you didn't know from one day to the next whether the German sub was going to get you what.
Well, that was a purpose. You were a ship of war and a sub chaser, you
Right,
said, so
right.
you were looking for trouble.
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the name of it. You know, trouble. But
Did you ever have any instances where you felt they had made contact with a submarine and actually were after one?
it was after that I was on a ship. They transferred me to another sub chaser, and I was in the South Atlantic. And we contacted. Well, I was in the engine room, but they brought me up on the deck, and we were contacted that there was a submarine in the area, and we went all over, couldn't find them again, but we circled around them and didn't know what it was until it was too late. They were gone.
Did you have a battle station, or were you always in the engine room?
Oh no, I was. When I first went in there, they didn't let me in the engine room. With battle stations, I was on a machine gun, and they let me try the machine gun, and I pull the trigger, the bolts are flying out. I said, "This is for me."
You did like that?
Oh yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, it's me shooting at them. Yeah, I wasn't too fond of them shooting back, but
You felt you could defend yourself in that
yes,
position?
yeah.
You had
I figured
yeah.
I'm going to get one of you before you get me.
How was it when you were in the North Atlantic and below ship, like you say, in a storm? What was the feeling as a young guy in that kind of environment under those kind of conditions?
I just never thought, number one, I never thought the war was going to end. Number two, I just thought I was going to die right out there in the middle of the ocean. And I just afraid that the ship was going to fall apart. It rattled and shook so much. I said to myself, this can't take it too much longer, this kind of crap. So, but we made it through it all right.
How were the officers that you served with at that point?
The officers on the submarine, on the ships, were real gentlemen. They were real fine gentlemen. I remember one guy from Chicago. He was the captain, and
Do you remember his name?
no, I can't remember the guy's
Okay.
name, but I mean, he was a very fine gentleman. And his first assistant or second in command was a guy from Pennsylvania, and he was a nice fellow too. Both of them were great guys, and the other guy,
What made them great in your mind at the time?
well, the way they treated you. In other words, they treated like a human being, and and they tried to make it as comfortable as they possibly could for you.
But yet was discipline still?
Oh,
in play?
oh yeah, it was there. But they always treated you very well. My problem came when they put me on that tanker. I got on that tanker with an old Navy guy, and he came right through the ranks, and he was a warrant officer, and then they made him an ensign. And I guess when they made him an ensign, he must thought he was the first king and queen or something, because, oh God, he was tough. Jesus, he was a tough man. Every day we'd come down to the engine room and check the engine room. What the hell are you doing down here? Your third job is up on the top deck.
So you resented him coming into your space down there?
Well, I didn't exactly resent it. I just didn't understand why he was there all
Why
the
he'd want
time.
to, yeah.
I said to myself, I'm running the engine room. If you don't like it, call me.
So he kind of micromanaged, the term they use
God,
today.
oh, he was on your back all the time. And actually, the personnel in the ship hated his man's guts.
It was generally felt, but that was a different ship and a different.
It was different ship, but a different time and a different outfit. And he told us where we're going. He said, you may be in the United States now, but it's only a matter of time because we're going to go to the South Pacific. And I said, oh, gosh, that's all we need. And we went from there, and we traveled. My first point was Guadalcanal, at the end of Guadalcanal. And the island had just been secured when we got there. And then we went from there up to New Guinea. And then from there, New Guinea, we went to the Admiralty Islands. And then all them little islands around there. And then at the Admiral Islands is when we had the first encounter with His Lordship, the great Japanese fleet. And this guy, we're talking to him, and we were this far apart. And he had his head towards that way. I don't know where it was now, but he got hit with a shell about that long. He hit him like this, and he went just down like that, and he was dead when he hit the floor, hit the deck.
This is when you were on the Oiler?
No, that's just when I was on the Oiler.
Oh, all right.
And then another kid was up on deck when them Japanese Zeros come in. And we told him to get the hell off the deck, and he didn't. And he got it. So we lost 2 men that one day. But
where did you first pick up the Oiler? Now, if you were in the North Atlantic on the subchasers, you had 2 subchasers.
And they gave me.
You got reassigned.
Yeah.
Did you ask for that, or does that just happen?
Oh no, they just took you. I got to be a first-class machinist mate, and the guy said, we're only allowed 1 top machinist mate, so you got to go because this guy is head. Mm-hmm. So I got transferred off the ship for 30-day leave, and I was told to go to Brunswick, Georgia. And there I was going to pick up a tanker. And I didn't know what kind of a tanker they put. So I figured, they're going to have a chief engineer. So anyway, I get to the tanker down in Brunswick, Georgia. And I run into the ship, and the chief is there. Well, I said to myself, this guy, one look at this guy, I said, oh my God. This, he was a real old Navy guy. And he could have retired, only if the war came on, he had to stay. And if there was one thing he could do was drink. And he drank all right. He was drunk all the time. So we got as far as Panama City, and the captain says, I've had enough. And they just took him off the ship, and I don't know where the hell he went to.
For goodness sakes.
Yeah, they took him off the ship.
So they took you down, you left Georgia?
And I was in charge of the engine room when they did that, yes. And I said to myself, this is something I don't want. But I got it, yes. And I continued.
So because of his behavior issues, he was taken off, and that made you go up, yep?
Yeah, because of his behavior, I got the job.
You got the job. So pay went up, but so did responsibility.
Oh, God, the pay went up.
Do you remember what your pay was?
No, I can't remember, but I was happy with the pay.
Yeah?
Yeah, because, my father had died, and they were taking so much money anyway. So, and I was heading for the South Pacific. So I think we went 5 and 6 months before a paymaster would come on the ship and sit down at the desk and say, you got 6 months pay coming. Do you want it all, or you want to take this or that? And I would used to take $50 or something like that, just enough to buy stuff from the ship's supply.
Where'd the remainder of your money go?
The Navy kept it.
The Navy kept it for you in an account?
Yeah, and then when I got out, back to my last tour of duty was Iwo Jima, and I got transferred off of that to come back to the United States, and my orders read 30 days leave of absence, report to someplace, I can't remember when or where, and the next tour of duty is the possibility of an invasion of Japan. I said, that's all. That's enough. That's it. The game is over. So luckily, I never got to the point where we made the invasion of Japan. And that didn't bother me a bit.
So you had a pretty good nest egg from your savings?
I had a real good nest egg. I had a couple $1,000.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So take me now, you're on the oiler, you left, what was it, South Carolina is where you picked that vessel up?
Yeah.
You went down through the Panama
Through the
Canal?
canal, yeah.
What was it like going through the canal?
I thought it was lovely because I had the experience of being at the Troy Lock and Dam. I knew what they did and how they did it, and you know, they raise you to the next level, and then you'd have open water for a while and then go through another lock, and you know, to me it was a great adventure, and I really loved it until we got to the other side, and they said here we pulled in, and they gave us our first load of product, and that was aviation gasoline.
Highly explosive.
Highly explosive. When they were filling that thing with tank, everybody was told to go inside, into the ship inside, outside of the guys that had to do the moving of the hoses. And they said, absolutely no, positively no smoking whatsoever. The first guy smoking goes to jail, goes to the brig. Well, I didn't, because I was outside with the guys helping them with the lines. I like to smoke, but I didn't like to smoke during that time, I'll tell you. That was the last thing I wanted to do was smoke that day.
What was the history of the oil tankers and fueling tankers in the Pacific? Did they ever lose any?
Basically, we had, you know, we would go alongside. Most of the time, when we were carrying the aviation gas, the only thing we did was we would go against the
aircraft carriers?
Aircraft carriers. And of course, we looked like a pigeon compared to them big aircraft carriers.
So you'd make a mid-ocean rendezvous with a carrier?
With a carrier, or basically when we got into a harbor, all we did then was just go from one ship to another ship to the other ship.
Yeah.
But
and supply them with the aviation fuel
and
for the planes.
they changed it. Then they changed it to the point where we were carrying half fuel oil and half aviation gas. And then a couple of times we were out in the middle of the ocean, and this telescope from the submarine would come up, and then the next thing you know, the sub was up there, and he'd pull alongside here, and we throw the hoses over to him
and fuel the submarine.
Yeah, and the guy stood there with a hatchet at the line in case his royal boys from Japan were coming over the planes. Your first orders was to
and get that
cut
sub
the line
underneath.
and go.
Now, as a tanker carrying that kind of a product, did you travel alone or in a group?
Oh, no, we traveled alone.
And was that purposeful? Was that purposely done so that you wouldn't risk explosion or damage to other ships?
And then of course we always had an escort carrier, you know, with us.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yeah, like a destroyer or destroyer escort, yeah.
Okay, so there was some protection.
Oh, yeah, because we didn't have too much protection on that tanker.
Yeah.
A 5-inch gun and 2 or 3 machine guns.
Did you get an opportunity when you fueled the submarine or you were in the at the aircraft carriers? Did you ever get on board other ships? Or did you have to stay where you were?
No, I stayed where I was. I didn't bother going on the ship. I knew what the, you know, it was another ship as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And I'm happy where I am. I'm going to stay where I am.
Did the tanker have a name or just a number designation?
They just had a number on the damn thing, that's all. 99.
99?
Yeah,
Where was it
99.
constructed? Did you ever?
It was constructed in Brunswick, Georgia.
So was it brand new when you were assigned to it?
Brand spanking new, yes.
How were your accommodations on that?
I had a good combination. When after the chief got out of there, I was right under the deck, up on the forward cabin, and I had the portholes were open right there. Open them portholes, and the breeze would be coming in from the ocean, and you had no trouble sleeping. Them guys down in the bunks down there, oh man, I don't know how they slept down
What was
there.
the temperature, let's say, if you were down in the tropics in the engine room, what would the typical temperature be operating
It was well over 100 degrees all the time down there.
What kind of shifts did you work on that?
Well,
in other words, how long was your work at your duty station? Was it an 8-hour shift?
No, we used to work 4 hours on and 8 hours off. But when we first went out there, we were at 4 on and 4 off.
And why did they change that?
Well, we were in a different war zone, and we weren't exactly ready all the time. In other words,
Yeah, different states of preparedness.
Yeah, yeah. But we went when battle stations were 4 on and 4 off, no question about it. And that was too bad because, I just get to sleep, and the next thing you know, they'd be waking me up and say, "Your time to come. Come on, get up." Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd get up. But I got through it all right. And
How was the food?
but the food was good. So, but I never was, let me put it this way. My childhood was not a day of luxury. I mean, it was in the head of the, let me put it this way, in Brooklyn, when the Depression hit, it hit my family pretty hard. It's a couple of times I can remember one time when the old man came in with the paper, the evening paper, and he opened the paper up and there was a steak. And I said to myself, he didn't get that in the butcher shop. He got it in the butcher shop, all right, but he got it in that paper and didn't pay for that sucker, and he was gone.
But that's how desperate people were.
Yes, and he my father was quite a character.
Well, he was trying to provide for his family.
Oh God, he did a lot of funny things, but that was the best one yet.
So the food, compared to your childhood, the Navy food was
it was
plentiful.
absolutely excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was living on first class accommodations, but I never had any problem with the food. Put it in front of me, I ate it. Maybe I didn't like it, but I ate it.
Tell me about now, when you were on the oiler, you said you went to different harbors and ports to fill up our ships at sea.
Right.
What are some of the places that you hit along the line? You mentioned some islands that you'd
Well,
worked to.
Guadalcanal, New Britain
And you had and Guadalcanal had the
had
victory
just been secured,
had been secured.
but there were still
Pockets of resistance.
pockets up in the hills, And
Did you ever interact with other branches of the service? Would you get to see some Marines or the Army?
My most active part of seeing the Marines was in Iwo Jima when we were on the outside of it. The battleships were all around us, and we were outside of them. And all I could see was look down in the sea. At that time, looked like we were in the Red Sea. The first 2 waves of the Marines got wiped right out. And the blood was all over in the water, and holy Jesus, it was terrible. And then a couple of times, the Marines coming back, they come in with them planes and sunk the goddamn ships, them little boats that they had.
The landing craft?
Yeah. And a couple of Marines made it to our ship, and we pulled them up on top. But that wasn't a very exciting year for us. I'll tell you that. Iwo Jima was the toughest thing I ever seen. I hope I never see it again. They can tell me all they want to tell me about this thing in Europe, and I just, hey, nothing can compare with that Iwo Jima, because them little people, say what you want, but them little suckers, they never gave up. They would die for the kingdom.
Right.
Yes, well, as far as I was concerned, they used to say, "Here's go back to the kingdom, pal." Yes.
That was the attitude at the time.
That was my attitude. And then when the war was over with, I'll be perfectly frank, I was two days outside of Seattle, Washington, and they announced off the ship, and I came back on an ammunition ship loaded with defective ammunition. I said, if it ain't bad enough, I had to spend 3 years out here in the South Pacific on the tanker. Now I got to come back on the ship loaded with
ammunition.
Defective ammunition. That thing could go up any minute. But they had each a can of beer that night, and drank the beer and they threw in the ocean. But I was a very happy boy when that thing was. They turned the radio on, and you could hear them celebrating in Seattle and were coming into New York, and they were in Philadelphia, and you know they were changing station to station.
So was your ship on its way towards the United States with the defective ammunition when you heard
The war was
that
over.
the war was over?
Yeah. And I was very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I said, I can't believe I made this.
Did they announce that we had dropped the atomic bomb at that point, or no?
When they announced when they dropped the bomb, I was on the ship when they dropped the bomb, and I said, keep going. And I didn't realize they only had a couple of bombs. And I wanted them to drop so many bombs that they would sink Japan. And I was mad when they told me they weren't going to sink Japan. I just said, keep blowing them damn things up, and I said, sink the whole damn island.
Because you wanted the war to end. No
I
matter
just
what.
wanted that war to end so
And
bad.
you didn't think that it would end that easily with
Oh
just a bomb
no,
or
no!
two.
Once they dropped them bombs, they said, you know, it's only a question of time, and it was only a question of time. And they said that was it. They gave up. Yes.
How did you keep in touch with back home while you were in the service?
By letters, and the mail guy, you told them mail. And where it went, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it got back here to the
You said your
States.
father had passed away before the war started, didn't
No, he passed away during the war.
he? Yeah. Were you able to get home for that?
I got home. My brother didn't. My brother was he was in the admiral. Where was it? Gilbert Islands. My brother was in the island, Gilbert Islands.
And
He was going back from the front lines, and the chaplain was coming up to the front lines, and he said, "Hey, Doc, I got news for you." And my brother says, "Yeah, what is it?" He says, "Your father's dead." That's how we found out. And I never heard about it until after the war was over, and that's what he told me. I said, "What did you say?" He said, "I didn't say anything. I just kept marching."
Did you have any so that's how the news was broke to him, that bluntly?
I said, I just said, they told you like that, just like that? Yeah, he said, just like that.
How did you have any other siblings or just one brother?
Just one brother had.
And he was in what branch of the service?
United States Marines.
He was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So he did you get to see him while the war was on at all?
No. I was in the same, the only time we came in, both of us on the same island, Iwo Jima. But he was in the fight.
Right.
And I was
supporting it.
Yeah, I was supporting him outside.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Did you think he might be on the island at that time, or you had no?
I had no idea until
after the war was over and you had a chance to discuss it.
Well, after the war, after the battle was over, they told me my brother was in the. I got wounded there, and then I rode home and they told me he was on his way to this Washington, and they brought him back to the States and had him in Walter Reed Hospital or something down in Washington.
How badly was he injured?
He was in bad shape. He had 2 or 3 holes in him, and of course the head was. Well, he had holes in his head like this.
Is your brother alive today or no?
No, he's dead. He's dead.
But what was his name?
My brother's name was Donald. His name was Donald. And
what were the circumstances how he was wounded? Just if we'd like to.
Well, he was in the foxhole, and the guy he tells us a funny story about that. He says we're in the foxhole, and I forget the island we're on, but anyway, he said, and the sergeant says to me, "Well, Doc, let's go. We're gonna wipe that machine gun guy out." And my brother said to him, "Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant?" I thought that was pretty cute, yes. But that was just like my brother. He has something to say at all times.
Yeah.
Yes, he didn't waste any time telling you too.
How long before, when you were in the service, how frequent or infrequent were your visits back home, or were you able to get back home?
No, never got. Once I left Georgia, I never got home for 3 years.
So roughly from 1942 to the end of the war?
Yeah, right. The war was over when I got to Seattle, Washington.
Now, why weren't you rotated out, or did we have a policy like that?
Well, no, we didn't have a policy like that. No. They just said that. Well, actually, what they said would be my time was up. Boy, what the hell that meant to me, I didn't know, but all I know is they said, you're being transferred. And I said, thank God for that. I'm off this goddamn ship.
The oiler.
The oiler, yeah. And then
Did you feel you had cheated death by getting off of that?
I felt that, you know, I didn't want to know more part. I didn't want to be on that ship going to Japan. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't think
Yep.
that ship was going to make it. But anyway.
So would you say your feeling was as if we had to invade Japan, you really felt that your chances of making it through were slim?
I didn't. I thought there was two chances, slim but none. That was it.
And would you say other people felt that way, or?
I would say that 90% of the guys I knew felt the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, slim or none. We're going in there because you knew they wouldn't give up. They wouldn't give up.
Yeah. And how did you kind of gather those feelings? Did you get newspapers? Did the radio give you information, or did information come from talking to other servicemen?
Talking to other servicemen. Periodically, with the radio, the ship radio would bring you news from the Navy, but it was always a broadcast from that area, and you know they would give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but you got very little information, very little, unless like from when they dropped the bomb, why. You know, boom, that was spread out all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
how about when President Roosevelt died?
Well, when he died, they had, you know, and Truman was made president. Everybody felt bad because, you know, Roosevelt was the king.
Been there most of the time you were of voting age, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, voted for him. My first vote was for Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. Did you stay in touch with any of your shipmates after the war?
A guy by the name of Bill Healy was on an attack. Oh God, I can't think of the name of it, but it was the attack ship that would go right into the harbor and drop the troops off right at the shoreline. Bill Healy came out of Troy, and I knew him from Troy, and I met him one time in fact, I actually met him a couple of times. The first time was down in Guadalcanal, and the next time I met him was up in the Philippines someplace, but wherever it was, I can't remember. But he was quite a character, Bill was. He's dead now, but he was a hell of a guy.
Where did you get discharged?
I got discharged out on Long Island.
And what month and what year was that?
Well, it was in November of I guess it was September. No, November, October, November of 45. Yeah.
And did you return to this area?
I came back up to Troy.
Up to Troy?
Yeah.
And did you continue to work at the lock, the federal
lock?
No,
I went to work for the American Locomotive in Schenectady.
So would you say that your training and your career with the Navy and the service played into that?
In other words, when I walked into the guy and I said, I'm looking for a job, and the guy said, what kind of a job you want? I said, well, I was in the Navy, I was in the engine room for 4 years, I was a first-class machinist. Sit down, he said.
So that stood you well when it came time for civilian employment?
Yes.
And how long did you work with them?
I guess around 8 or 10 years when I got sick and tired of it. I mean, labor relations with the company were not that good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, was always fighting every day of the week.
And where did you work after that?
Then I started working as a salesman, selling construction equipment, and I was traveling Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, New England for that company. And then I got out of there and went with another company, and I was working the same area. Plus, I went to Montreal and Quebec and the Atlantic provinces of Canada and over in the Newfoundland. But that I enjoyed because them guys in Newfoundland, they knew, you told me you were in the Navy, you could have have a drink. First, get the drink, give me a drink. You know, yeah.
So all in all, you had about 4 years in the Navy, 3.5, 4 years? Close to 4 years?
I got a kick out of it because I remember the guy saying to me, well, why don't you stay 2 more months and you can have your stripe on your arm? I said, I don't need no goddamn stripe. I want out. I said, the war is over with. There's nobody more to fight. I'm out of here. Well, don't you think you want to get your stripe? I said, no.
Right.
No, I don't need that one stripe. I'm not a slave. No. I want out. O-T-G. Out. Period. Nothing. Oop. And they finally said, well, guess so. Yes.
Well, you did your due, it sounds like.
I feel that I did my duty, but, you know, the guy said, a hero I'm not. I'm not a hero. My brother is a hero. My brother had more guts than God on liver pills. And he'd fight you at the drop of a hat. But, no. I just did what I was told to do, and I did it. I never regretted it, but I always did it. I was going to hope and pray that I could get through the war. That's all I kept saying. And that was the first time I started praying for myself. You know, Lord, let me get out of this mess. And then I would say a prayer.
Right.
Yeah, more than once.
Well, we're awfully glad that you were able to join us today,
Yes.
Jerry Wegner.
Yes.
And we enjoyed talking to you, and I hope our audience enjoys seeing this film. I want to thank you again on behalf of the Town of Colonie's oral history program. It was Jerry Wegner at the Town of Colonie's library, and I want to thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.